A fascinating battle awaits us as we gear up for the second of our two Clio Cup Series races this weekend at Ricardo Tormo circuit here in the city of Valencia. It's great to be back with you once again. After yesterday's thrilling encounter in the first race of the weekend, we know we're in for another thriller in race two. It's going to be a fabulous battle. It's even hotter today than it was yesterday. 50% humidity, cooler conditions because of the lack of wind. 0% precipitation expected through the course of these two races. But with it being hotter, it's definitely going to be tougher for the cars to get up to speed and stay there at the limit. That's going to be the toughest mission for all of the competitors out there. Tyre wear is going to be more prominent. Engine and water temperatures are going to be higher. So for every driver and every crew out there, this just became even tougher. Hello everybody, great to be with you once again. Jake Sanson in the commentary box overlooking the start-finish line at the circuit Ricardo Tormo, named after the legendary motorcycle world champion. And it's great to be back on this circuit once again as the drivers are preparing to head out onto the circuit for their first encounter of today, their one and only race of today. But it's definitely going to be the toughest one yet. What has changed since yesterday? Well, there is now an absentee. Rather sadly, Nikola Milkovic is not going to be taking up race two. But Gabriele Torelli is. He got his wedding finished and successfully completed yesterday, despite all of the threats to his return to racing today. He is fighting fit, he's in good shape, and he has qualified 5th position. Not bad for a new married man. And he's going to be starting from 5th on the starting grid. Just as well, actually, that he's back in action, because he's temporarily dropped to 3rd in the standings. He came into the weekend 2nd in the point standings, the 32-year-old from Scandiano. But now he is back in the action once again. And it'll be really intriguing to see what he can do from 5th on the starting grid. He starts behind the big four men, essentially, here this weekend. Jerzy Spinkovic, the Middle East Clio Cup Series champion of 2023, has put himself in pole position for the very first time in this morning's qualifying session. Did a fantastic job to put himself there as well, the young 19-year-old, and doing a brilliant job to continue his elevation through the Clio Cup fold. Alongside him on the grid is the race 1 winner yesterday, former RCZ champion, championship leader this year, 412 points coming into the weekend. He has extended that today, but the 45-year-old from Albi, another great French racing town, David Pouget, lining up on the front row of the starting grid alongside Jerzy Spinkovic. Then it's going to be the 2022 Clio Cup Europe champion, 3rd currently coming into the weekend in the standings, moving his way up as he continues. Anthony Girardo is going to be there, 3rd position on the starting grid, alongside Mr. Clio Cup himself, Nicolas Milan, who has won pretty much everything there is to win bar the raffle. If we held one of those, he'd probably win that as well. French champion in 2018, 20, 21 and 22. 5th in the standings coming into this weekend. But he is a former European and Spanish champion. Certainly knows everything there is to know about these cars. And has been a Euro Cup champion in years gone by as well. So he's going to be lining up 4th on the grid alongside Anthony Girardo. Then it will be Gabriele Torelli and Adrian Schimpf, the man who is fighting to become Clio Cup Spanish champion this year, who managed to come home 3rd overall yesterday. Did a brilliant job to get himself into that position as well. So really good to see him continuing that fantastic performance that he has given in the first port of call over the course of today. So what has changed since yesterday? Well, let's give you a bit of an update based on what the points now tell us. After his win yesterday in Clio Cup Europe, David Pouget is the championship leader still, in front of Gabriele Torelli, who remains 2nd in the Europe points. That is taken into account the fact that obviously the Europe Clio Cup races include Monza, Spa, Hungaroring, the Nürburgring, the Red Bull Ring, Valencia here, and then 3 weekends to go at Zandvoort, Imola and Barcelona. They do not take into account, of course, the Clio Cup Series races, which includes the events at Nogaro in France, Magny-Cours also in France, and then, of course, the visit to Misano in Italy and Paul Ricard, which is coming up in between Valencia and Zandvoort. That takes into account the points that are being scored for the French, Italian and Spanish categories as well. In the Clio Cup Series, David Pouget is the title leader on 714, now ahead of Nicolas Milan, who has overtaken Gabriele Torelli, for the time being at least, in the Clio Cup Euro Series points. That is, I should say, not, sorry, the Clio Cup Series points, not Clio Cup Europe. If that all makes very little sense to you, well, you can catch up with all of that on the Clio Cup website. In the Clio Cup Spain points, it's a slightly different story because Adrian Schimpf has now taken the lead of the standings ahead of Jeremy Bordageret, with Alejandro Schimpf in third in the standings ahead of Jordi Palomeras and Mathieu Lanpoudange, who is sadly not here this weekend. In the Challengers standings, it is the twins, Adrian and Alejandro, who are first and second in the points, only separated by 17 points. And in the Racers standings, it is Jeremy Bordageret who leads Sergio Casalin, who is not here. Great to see Damiano Puccetti getting one final warm hug of encouragement from his crew as he prepares to get ready. Damiano Puccetti starting 9th on the grid in this one, as the cars make their way to the starting grid. You're just keeping an eye there on Jacopo Giuseppe Jimenez, who had fuel pump problems after qualifying yesterday. Managed to get the car back up to scratch again, so the mechanics worked hard to make sure he was ready in position. He had a reasonably good race yesterday, but he wants a little bit more from today, and he's absolutely ready to charge forward, as of course is the entirety of his Rangoni Corsa team, who now has a second car in the lineup, with Gabriele Turelli returning after his nuptials yesterday. There is Jeremy Bordageret in the Milan Competition car. He, of course, is still competing to win the Clio Cup Spain category this year. He has 196 points in the overall standings, which is only 18 points off the score of Adrian Schimpf. So this race could definitely change things around again in the standings for Jeremy Bordageret. He came into the weekend as the series leader, but with Schimpf getting the Spanish Cup victory and scoring 20 more points than Jeremy Bordageret, the lead has changed, but it could change again. Grazinale is, of course, the doctor, who has a bit of a history with this place. Great to see that there's still tributes to him all around. There is Ivan Hernandez of the Chefo Sport team. No, not the boxer. No, not the world cyclist. It is, in fact, a newcomer to the category this weekend, doing a fantastic job. He didn't have a great qualifying yesterday. He went as high as the top 6, but then had all his times disallowed. He's done a much more conservative effort today, which keeps him in the middle of the field, so he's going to have a little bit less work to do to get himself back into a decent position, which is obviously going to help for him. So hopefully he's going to have a much better run of it this time. But it's not a guarantee. You have to do the hard work. It's all well and good putting your car into a good position on the qualifying, but you have to get the job done as well in the race. And with 25 minutes plus the additional lap, it doesn't exactly help. So as you can see, the marshal's going to work after the previous session, which saw a little bit of an off, making sure obviously that all of the cars and the competitors in this one are going to be given a fair bit of racetrack, and all should hopefully go according to plan for all of the drivers out there. So there is Alejandro Royo, who is still going to be working very hard, the 2022 Clio Cup Spain champion. Raced in Seat Copa, and he won the Spanish Peugeot Cup back in 2009, so anything tin top and hatchback in Spain, Alejandro Royo is probably one of the experts. He has done it all, and it's great to see him continuing that challenge as he puts on a sharp battle here in Valencia. Drivers continuing to get themselves ready, but the windshields, of course, to stop the heat coming in and causing too much of an issue. There's Lionel Vigier, who's had a reasonable weekend as well. It's not been perfect by his standings, far from it, but he's certainly been there to do battle. The 40-year-old from Santa Frique and the T2 CM driver still very much in the mix, wanting to be part of the action from the sharp end of the field. The Clio Cup safety car going around to take its position. Obviously inspecting the course after the previous session on track to make sure that all is going to be well and dandy. It's not the easiest situation. So it'll be an interesting run for the competitors. There is the number 21, that is Stefan Polderman, the Dutchman, trying to continue his great form. He is the Belgian Touring Car Series champion, of course, in both T2 and Junior from all the way back in 2010. So he has plenty of experience racing tin tops, as of course does this man, Alejandro Schimpf. He certainly does now. This is his third year in Clio Cup. He raced with his twin brother Adrian in the CIK FIA categories back in 2016 and 2017 in World Karting. And they have managed to elevate themselves into Clio Cup Series of late. Always love these windshields with the Disney Pixar eyes. Great to see that the the Clio Cups have great personality, don't they? René Steenmetz lining up 19th on the grid. The Dutchman, who, of course, has been racing in these category of cars since 2011. He was in Supercar Challenge through 2018 and 19 as well. This is his third year in Clio Europe. And as you can see, these Clios have plenty of personality thanks to these windshields. Now there is Lydia Sempere, a fabulous competitor. She is actually bilaterally hearing loss. So she actually races with cochlear implants and has done a fantastic job of getting herself up to speed in the Clio Cup Europe campaign. Great to see how she has come up from the world of karting and through to Spanish Super Turismo. And now she is here in Clio Cup Europe this week. There is Gabriel Alonso, very experienced racer now in his third season in Clio Cup Spain, and doing a great job for the GBA racing team as well. Great to see so many of these incredible competitors. There is apparently a note on my timing screen to state that there is a yellow flag at turn 13. We haven't even started racing yet, but it's clear that the marshals have got a little bit of work to do here. There is René Steenmetz's car, and the signal, I do believe, has been given to clear the grid. So it's time for all of these competitors, including Quintano Stefana, to get himself ready for the start. Quintano, of course, raced in the Ferrari Italian Championship back in 2008 and 2010. This is a very different sport. He returned to racing in Clio Italia in 2020. He had done so prior to racing in Ferraris. So it's great to see him back in a car that he obviously knows and feels comfortable with. So great to see him in position. So it'll be an interesting situation as the competitors will gear up for the second race of the weekend. 25 minutes plus the additional lap as always, but this time it's going to be even tougher. Yesterday we had the terrific duel between Pouget and Milan, with Anthony Girardot trying to fight his way back into prominence. Well, he only made it as far as the top 10, unfortunately, Anthony Girardot. However, they have a fourth man in the brigade now, Gabriele Torelli, who is starting from 5th position. Congratulations on your nuptials yesterday, my friend. He got married yesterday, which is why he wasn't racing on Saturday. But all four of them have got a tough man to beat in front of them. The 19-year-old Clio Cup Middle East champion from 2023, Jędrzej Spinkiewicz, the Polish driver who was a very prominent competitor in the Miami Euro Series in karting in his junior days, stepped up to Clio Cup a few years ago, and even though at the tender teenage years, he is still a prolific racer and up at the sharp end. And this is his first pole position in Clio Cup Europe. It's going to be really exciting to see what he can do to hold off the onslaughts of Messrs. Pouget, Girardot, Milan and Torelli, arguably the four best drivers here in Clio Cup Europe. It's not an argument that you would definitely win, but it's definitely one you've got a good chance of. Adrian Schimpf, of course, lining up in 6th on the grid. And then the two great competitors from yesterday, Guillaume Maillot and Jordi Palomeras, are going to be there in the 4th row of the grid. And rounding out the top 10, it is Damiano Puccetti and Jacopo Cimenez. Plenty of great talent in this field. 25 drivers will go to battle. And it's definitely going to be a close proximity race. With Jędrzej Spinkiewicz right up there in the sharp end of the field, going to be very interesting to see how he progresses. But we're definitely going to see a tough old battle, especially with Gabi Torelli back in position again. He's going to be one to watch. The green flag flies, and so we go around on the formation lap, and we'll talk you through the grid in its entirety. Jędrzej Spinkiewicz and David Pouget on the front row of the starting grid. Anthony Girardot and Nicolas Milan together on the 2nd row. Then it is Gabriele Torelli and Adrian Schimpf on row 3. Guillaume Maillot and Jordi Palomeras are on the 4th row of the grid, from Damiano Puccetti and Jacopo Cimenez on the 5th row of the grid. An all-Italian round out of the top 10. Julien Bazire and Jeremy Bodageray are then on the 6th row of the grid. Ivan Hernandez and Alejandro Royo are next up on row 7. Lionel Vigier and Stefan Polderman are on the 8th row. On the 9th row, it is Alejandro Schimpf and Guido Stefana. René Steenmetz is alongside Lydia Sempere. And then it is Gabriel Alonso from Joaquin Rodrigo, Alejandro Romero, Jean-Louis Caponsin, the man who won the Renault Turbo Cup all the way back in 1989, and Michel Fay in 25th on the starting grid. Great to see everybody correct and present. The only absentee is Nikola Milkovic, who had an incident in yesterday's race and is now not participating in race 2. The formation lap continuing on its way. The Clio Cup race 2 is about to get underway once again. Such a good race yesterday. We had 0 yellow flag incidents, 0 safety cars. I'm rather hoping we get another race like it today, but with the return to the sharp end of the field of Anthony Girardot, the return to the paddock of Gabriele Torelli, and the emergence at the front of the grid of Jerzy Spinkovic, I've got a feeling that today's race could be a little bit spicier than yesterday's was. Fortunately, what we did get in race 1 was David Pouget versus Nicolas Milan, two of the best in this category, two of the best behind the wheel of a Clio on the planet, and they have been absolutely sensational. Yesterday's race really was stupendous. Now we're going to get to do it all over again in the hope that it is going to be a really exciting run for all of the contenders out there. Are we going to get to see the superb and supreme battle that we were hoping for going into yesterday's race, and is it going to be magnified even more coming into race number 2? It's definitely going to be a tough one for all of the competitors, but with the high 5 drivers up in the top 5, and of course Adrian Schimpf, who wants to be right up there at the front of his own battle. Don't forget, he's going to be competing in the Spanish Championship for points, so he wants to stay out of trouble, but would also quite like the kudos of going up against the likes of Pouget, Gerardo, Milan and Torelli, and putting one over on the teenage talent Jerzy Spinkovic. There's definitely going to be an interesting run for all of our drivers here. Lots to talk about, lots to get into, and it's definitely going to be unpredictable to see how it's all going to play out. The competitors will come off the final turn, and then we will be ready to kickstart this shindig. It's definitely going to be a really exciting battle out there. And the circuit Ricardo Tormo is going to see some brilliant battles out there on the course once again. The drivers come out of the Adrian Campos turn and get themselves ready for the run down to Aspar, the first corner. It's definitely going to be an interesting challenge for all of them. They know that. We know that too, of course. As the final competitor, Michel Fay, gets into position. And now we will get ourselves geared up and ready for the start. Such a fabulous racetrack this, such a great battle we had yesterday. Expect more of the same today as our competitors are gearing up, ready for an excellent showcase around this circuit. We wait for the last couple of cars to get themselves into position, and then we can go racing in fine style. The great thing about the Clio Cup is that you never quite know what to expect. It's never easy to predict. It's certainly never easy to calculate. And these guys always give us an excellent show. The final race of the weekend, the second encounter, and it's time for these guys to get underway. The green flag flies at the back of the field, and we are ready to race. Off we go! And it's a great start from the front. No problems at all from our pole sitter, Jerzy Spinkovic. Can he hold it in front of David Pouget? Pouget's drawn level and actually moved a couple of car lengths in front. Watch for Gerardo. He's going to try and sneak up the inside as well. But it's definitely Pouget that leads the way. Up the inside comes Gerardo. Gerardo trying to get into second place as they go through Aspar. And up towards the Duan corner. It's going to be an interesting run. And I think Gerardo's going to have the inside line, no problem. Indeed he is. Spinkovic is going to have that door firmly wide open for Nicolas Milan as well. So there's not a lot that can be done. Torelli's down to P6 by the look of it, as Adrian Schimpf, I think, has got a good start to move up into 5th position. But as they work their way through, it's not the greatest of starts for Jerzy Spinkovic. The pressure and the tension has got to him, and that looks like the Rangoni Corsa car up the inside to get into 4th position. Is it? I think that's Gabi Torelli making his way into P4 past Spinkovic. Now Schimpf is having a go up the inside to make his way into 5th position. This is terrible for Jerzy Spinkovic. Not the start he wanted at all. From pole position, he tumbles all the way to P6 already. So it's Pouget, Gerardo, Milan, then it is Torelli in front of Adrian Schimpf, and it looks like Guillaume Mayo is going to try and get his move up the inside of Jerzy Spinkovic. He eventually bails out of it, but what a terrible start for the Polish driver Jerzy Spinkovic. Not what he wanted at all, as everybody makes their way through in the opening tour. Through the chicane, up towards turn 11, and then they come up to the Champijareros as they climb up the crest through that square right-hander. Got to be so careful. Pouget up in front. Gerardo, Milan, second and third, already duking away for position. And then behind them is going to be Gabi Torelli, hoping to make progress as he comes up the top end of the field. Not bad from Torelli, considering that he wasn't even here yesterday. And what a fabulous wife that will let him go racing on the Sunday after the wedding. Here they come as they work their way through. Here's the opportunity for Anthony Gerardo to try and make his way forward. A fabulous situation as the competitors continue to make their way through. This is going to be such a tough race. Gerardo trying to close up on Pouget whilst also trying to drop Nicolas Milan. They go flat out through the first corner again. And there's still battles through the field, as that is the number 4 of Julian Bazire, having a bit of an issue with Jeremy Bonagere and Damiano Bugetti, but trying to get through on the inside line. as they work their way up through the complex, they've gone through Duen and up towards Nico Terol, the right-hander. This is all going very well for the race leader. David Pouget has made a clean break in front of Anthony Girardot through turn 5. And watch for Nicolas Milan. He's got a bit of a run now on Anthony Girardot as they work their way up to Angel Nieto. So in through Angel Nieto corner, named after another prolific motorcycle racer from Spain. And they work their way up to the Curva de la Afición. Through they go into the left-hander, nicely handled, and then into the braking zone for Bernard Martinez. Very tight hairpin that actually tightens through the radius. Then they get back on the power through the S's at 9 and 10. You can see Milan starting to get into the wing mirrors a little bit more of Anthony Girardot as they work their way through turn 11, through the hairpin. And then they work their way back up to Championneros once again, through that square right-hander that goes uphill. Very tough corner this in motor racing. Nicolas Milan is still all over the back of Anthony Girardot in second, but David Pouget's got the break up front, and then they break and go into the final turn. Named just recently after Adrian Campos, one of the most beloved characters in Spanish motorsport. There is the 99, Guillaume Maillot, 8th position at the moment, behind Balameras. Whoops! Bit of a moment from Alejandro Schimpf, who is definitely working his way through the field quickly. And Schimpf has already come up to 10th position, so his brother in 5th position, Alejandro Schimpf, is already up to P10. Some great work up the inside. That's Girardot making the bid on David Pouget into Aspar, and they're going to go side by side. It's nearly 3 wide further back. Is that going to be Pouget giving away the lead to Anthony Girardot? It is indeed, as Girardot gets the move, and there's still room left over for Nicolas Milan to get up the inside as well. Not that Pouget wants to give him any space. Torelli is right there in 4th position as well. So the top 4 cars very close together now. Girardot, Pouget, Milan, Torelli, and watch for Adrian Schimpf in 5th position. The quintet moves their way through the Nico Torel complex, 4 and 5, then up towards Angel Nieto once again. And look at David Pouget, determined to get back through on Anthony Girardot. They're almost banging bumpers now as they come through Angel Nieto. Up to the Curva de la Afición once again, and there's a lot of blocking now. Nicolas Milan trying to hold off Torelli and Schimpf. Jacek Spinkovic still hungry in P6, wants a little bit more than this. Up the inside, Milan having to have a think about Pouget, and a little bit of nudging from Torelli. Torelli is trying to create the opportunity. Nicolas Milan will not be happy with that at all. And Milan holds 3rd position for the time being. Torelli tries again. Girardot and Pouget holding each other up in the braking zone. Torelli tries again. Adrian Schimpf is right there in 5th position. This is a much better race than we had yesterday already. David Pouget still trying to come back, and Anthony Girardot up through Championneros. They work through the right-hander. Up to the top of the hill again. Still a fantastic race. Girardot holds on from Pouget. Nicolas Milan having to go defensive into Adrian Campos. They come off the final corner, onto the home straight again. Bit of a twitch there from Anthony Girardot. You can't afford mistakes like that when you've got a pack of dogs on your tail. And Girardot knows it. He knows that Pouget is going to be threatening on the way to the straight. Everybody really struggling to keep the car on the road. And this one, using a lot of the racetrack to close up now. Pouget hopes for a good run through Aspar. And as they work through turn 1, you can hear the wheels spinning and skidding on the way through. So can Pouget get the run up the inside of Anthony Girardot? Well, Nicolas Milan is trying to outbrake him. Up through Duen. Again, they work their way back into the next section and up towards Nico Terol. Into turn 4, the first of the 2 right-handers. Still very close. Looked to me as though Gabi Torelli was on 2 wheels as he went through there, doing his best Gabriele Tarquini impression. Never mind Gabriele Torelli. As they work their way through again. Trying to continue on the challenge. Nicolas Milan trying to get the move on the inside of David Pouget. And Anthony Girardot holding the middle of the road. He's going to have to think very carefully through Curva de la Afición. Can he hold on? For the moment, yes. Torelli locking up a little bit. So too did Pouget. It's so close between these 5. And it's very tough. Oh, and there's an off. That's a big one. That's the 43. That's Damiano Puccetti. Puccetti has gone off there. So Damiano Puccetti into the gravel at Aspar, I do believe. So that is very much a problem, and that could trigger a safety car depending on how far in he's gone. But if that car can't be moved, it is indeed safety car. There we go. I spoke too soon. I thought it was going to be 2 completely green races. But in fact, the safety car has been called for Damiano Puccetti. Very unfortunate that he is the one in the gravel. So bitter disappointment. And that's very sad to see. Well, with Damiano Puccetti now out of the race, it's very difficult to envisage how things are going to continue, because now the field tightens up again behind the safety car, which now collects the field. But this is going to be tight on the restart, isn't it? The extraction team able to recover the car now that the race has been neutralised. Great work, I have to say, from the marshals here in Valencia on the Circuit Ricardo Tormo. They really are fantastic at what they do. I've been observing them all through the weekend, and they are very quick indeed. There was a nasty accident in qualifying this morning in one of the other support races that triggered a red flag, and these guys were absolutely on it. They were like cats as they flew to the scene of it, and they managed to get the driver out without too much difficulty. So really impressive to see the phenomenal work that these guys have been doing all through the course of the weekend. The marshals are absolutely sensational as they put on a great display. But now the safety car being out after the first couple of laps of racing, they've done a sensational job and put in a great display. But that is Damiano Puccetti's car needing a recovery. So very difficult indeed for him. Now, I noticed that he's not the only one not circulating. It looks to me as though there's been a problem again for Jacopo Jimenez. I noticed that he hasn't actually come through at the start of the race. Now, he was definitely on the grid, but I'm not sure what happened to Jacopo Jimenez. I wonder if that fuel pump error has come back to bite him again, because that was definitely triggering issues in qualifying yesterday. But certainly, Jacopo Jimenez appears to be right at the back of the field and not circulating. So, very big problems then for Jacopo Jimenez. Looks as though he's completed Sector 3 and come into the pits to retire. So, very difficult indeed then for the Italians, because that's two of their great stars, Damiano Puccetti and Jacopo Jimenez. In fact, the two men that shared the fifth row of the starting grid now out of the race. Safety car in this lap, so we are going to go racing again this time. So that is good news. Let's have a look at what happened at the start again. Now, I don't see Jimenez's car there. Ah, he's in pit lane, that's why I didn't see it. You can see already from the highlights that we've seen so far, David Pouget and Anthony Gerardo already giving good race battles out there on the course. A couple of trippy moments. That was the 66. Alejandro Romero going wide, but look how close it gets within the top five. It's bumper to bumper to bumper, concertina effect, and it's the Damiano Puccetti incident that has brought out the safety car up to this point. So you're now back up to speed again, and we are about to go racing once more here at the Circuit Ricardo Tormo in Valencia, just 33 kilometers from the city centre. And it's time to see what Messrs Gerardo, Pouget, Milan, Torelli, Schimpf and Spinkovic can give us in terms of a showcase. We've got Jordi Palomeras in P7, Guillaume Mayo is in 8th, charging through from the back end of the field, Alejandro Schimpf in P9, and Alejandro Arroyo is now into P10, just in front of Jeremy Bodagere and Ivan Hernandez. The final corner, there is the leader coming through. Great restart from Anthony Gerardo, and we are green as we get back up to racing speed in Clio Cup Race 2. They charge forward towards Aspar, and it's going to be a great restart from Anthony Gerardo. No problems at all in front of David Pouget. And the line of Clio Cup heads its way through to the first corner, through the first right-hander on Aspar. Is everybody going to get through without incidents? Certainly nobody making the big bid. Big wobble, though, from Adrian Schimpf through turn 1. He drifted wide, and now Jacek Spinkovic might get an opportunity on the way up to Nico Terol. Turns 4 and 5, the two right-handers. They come through Duen, down the hill, through turn 3, and then up towards 4 and 5. Nico Terol, the double right-handers. Gerardo with a good restart here. David Pouget trying to stick with him. 13 minutes and 40, plus the additional lap still on the clock. As they can make their way up towards Angel Nieto. Gerardo's lead that he built up in the first couple of meters of the race is already gone. Pouget has already caught him up. So now Pouget trying to get a move up the inside of the Cover de la Fission. Can he work his way forward? Hasn't been able to make it happen yet. It's yellow again, safety car again. Safety car is triggered again. And I think it's for Alejandro Arroyo. So Alejandro Arroyo, yes, that's the 26. That is Alejandro Arroyo. So he's gone off in exactly the same place as Damiano Puccetti after the completely clean and green running that we had yesterday. A shame that we've now got two safety cars in quick succession. But that's what they say in motor racing, isn't it? Safety cars breed safety cars. It is not the easiest situation at all for the contenders. A very tricky situation. So very difficult indeed for all of the contenders out there. as the safety car comes out once more, as there's yet more difficulties for the contenders. So the safety car will pick up the field yet again. I think Adrian Schimpf is the luckiest man of the day, because he had his little twitch and wobble there, and he is very fortuitous that the safety car came out when it did, because that little wobble, I think, would definitely have caused him a bit of a headache. Fastest first sector of the entire race comes from Gabriele Torelli last time around. Managed to complete that first sector in 25.347, so Torelli's definitely one to watch here. But now we have three retirements. The non-starter, Jacopo Jimenez. We had Damiano Puccetti, he brought out the first safety car. And now Alejandro Arroyo, who brought out the second safety car. And I'm very sorry to say that Alejandro Arroyo is not going to go any further in this race. Fortunately, again, the Marshall team here at Circuit Ricardo Tormo are absolute lightning bolts. So, mucho gracias to everybody around. Look, they've already managed to get Alejandro Arroyo's car to the sideline, and safety car in this lap. There you go. Although we have a couple of safety car periods, that's how quick the marshals are here at Ricardo Tormo. They are so quick that we're only going to be behind the safety car for 2 laps. That's how it's done, folks. Other circuits, take it and learn. So, a fabulous situation. Well, it's going to be a really interesting situation on the restart then, because now you've got Gerardo, Pouget, Milan, Torelli, Schimpf and Spinkovic still very evenly paced. And all 6 of them have a claim to this victory. Gerardo had to fight back from adversity yesterday. He now leads. David Pouget, he is the winner from yesterday. Nicolas Milan, the man who tried to take it from him. Gabriele Torelli, the man who returns after his wedding yesterday and right up at the sharp end of these standings. Adrian Schimpf bagged a pole position, grabbed a victory in the Spanish Cup and 3rd overall yesterday. And Jezek Spinkovic, the man who started from pole position initially. So all 6 drivers have a claim to this race in some way. Safety car lights are out, so we are going to go racing again. But is Anthony Gerardo going to get as good a restart as he did last time? Certainly Torelli is absolutely glued to Nicolas Milan's back bumper already. Adrian Schimpf staying with them. Gerardo's gone for it. Now, is that going to be a good enough start? He's certainly got a couple of car lengths on David Pouget, but it's all going to come down to how he takes the car through Adrian Campos. They run through the final corner and onto the home straight once again. Gerardo seems to have made a good go of it, and it's green, 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 green. 10 minutes to go, plus the additional lap. So for the 3rd time, we are green flag racing at Circuit Ricardo Tormo. And already Gerardo trying to shake off David Pouget into Aspar. Turn 1, the left-hander. Anti-clockwise, these particular corners up the inside. Looks like we've got somebody trying to make the move there. That looked to me like René Steenmetz trying to get past Stefan Polderman, but has not been able to make the move stick on that first couple of corners. So still they battle away, but the racing is still very tight indeed in Clio Cup Europe here at Valencia. So Royo out, Puccetti out, Jimenez out. That means there's only 22 cars left. And Anthony Gerardo is your leader. Bit of a wobble from Nicolas Milan, but also a bit defensive from Anthony Gerardo. He knows that David Pouget is going to be all over him. Out of Angel Nieto. Look how tight it is between the top 6. Gerardo, Pouget, Milan, Torelli, Schimpf and Spinkovic. Very close together indeed. Here comes the charge from Nicolas Milan, trying to get up the inside. Little bit of a nudge of David Pouget. Come on, I've got Gabi Torelli all over me. Get a move on. And that has actually got him off the throttle. Gabriele Torelli trying to squeeze his way through into 3rd position as they drop out of 9 and 10 and up towards 11. And Torelli's left the door open for Adrian Schimpf as a result. The concertina effect. He now gets the opportunity on the inside into Champijaneros, and Adrian Schimpf is going to go door to door with Gabi Torelli. Can he get there through the inside line? He's going to try. He'll commit to it. Gabi Torelli won't back out of the move. Meanwhile, Pouget is trying to go for Anthony Gerardo around the far side on the approach to Adrian Campos. They're going to get side by side. He's got to time this right. Gerardo's going to squeeze him, and Pouget gets one wheel on the grass, manages to keep it going, but he's lost out now to Nicolas Milan. Milan gets through into 2nd position, so now Gerardo leads Milan. Pouget in 4th position. Several drivers now really trying to push it side by side. Milan is going to get up alongside Anthony Gerardo, and surely that's going to be Nicolas Milan trying to get through to the lead of this race now. He doesn't quite have the momentum though. Meanwhile, storming his way up the inside, that looks to me like Jeremy Bordageret trying to get the moves there. Alejandro Schimpf has got past Jezek Spinkovic, and now Guillaume Mayo is trying to get through as well. So yeah, Alejandro Schimpf, twin brother of Adrian, is now trying to come through. has worked his way to 6th, but Spinkovic has got him back again. So Spinkovic back into P6 once more. Up towards Nico Terol through the first of the 2 corners. And then through the second, Nicolas Melan trying everything to lean on Anthony Girardo in the braking zone. Girardo, who could only make his way to the top 10 yesterday, now with a great chance of a victory at a critical moment in the season as well. Girardo versus Melan. David Pouget will probably be spitting fumes in 3rd position. Did you see what he did to me? He squeezed me. Oh, big moment from Nicolas Melan as he uses plenty of curb at Curva de la Fission. Almost cuts the corner completely, and now Girardo running deep at Bernard Martinez. And this could be the chance. Nicolas Melan knows if he just keeps putting Girardo under intense pressure, Girardo's going to overcook it. But is Girardo going to fall for that? Through turn 11 at the hairpin, Girardo, wider trajectory, 6 minutes 50 on the clock. Plus the additional lap, of course. Melan hoping for a good exit up towards Champijareros. Through the right, up the hill again. And all of a sudden, David Pouget continues. There's a yellow flag at turn 10. That's the second of the S's. So we've got a yellow flag. Somebody has gone off there. Not entirely sure if they have recovered or not, but there's certainly a yellow flag at 10. Oh, yes, that is one of the Schimpf brothers. That is disastrous. Now, who is that? That is Adrian. That is Adrian Schimpf, who was in P4. So that is catastrophic for Adrian Schimpf's title attack in the Spanish Clio Cup. Adrian Schimpf, who was up in P4. He's been battling away with Gabi Torelli. I want to see that again if we get the chance. We might be able to see it out of the corner of our eye. We were so busy looking at the top 3. But Adrian Schimpf was right in behind Gabi Torelli. So he has parked it on the inside line of the corner. Is that enough to trigger a safety car, or is that offline? It's tough to know, actually, if that's going to be worth a safety car or not. It is safety car for the 3rd time. Frustrating, very frustrating, particularly for the local fans here, for Adrian Schimpf, off the course, up at turn 10, and that ruins his Clio Cup Spain bid. Well, we really need to see what happened to Adrian Schimpf again, because obviously he was on the podium yesterday. He can't believe it. Look, he's trudging away. I was battling away with Gabi Torelli and Jerzy Spinkovic, and now I'm off the road. So, Adrian Schimpf out of this race, and that's bitter, bitter disappointment. It's Alejandro Schimpf, his twin brother, who is now promoted up to 6th position. But Adrian Schimpf is out of this race. There is the safety car. Bitter disappointment for Adrian Schimpf. And as you can see, his car is perched in a rather precarious position there on the inside line. It's not exactly catastrophically dangerous, but clearly it's going to be difficult for the marshals to move it from there. So they have no choice. Now, let's have a look at the highlights from the race so far. We might be able to pick up what happened to Adrian Schimpf. You can see Alejandro Schimpf, the twin brother, already making his way through the field. Chipping his way moment by moment. Jerzy Spinkovic dropping all the way to P6, unfortunately. A couple of moments out of the final turn. But how good has this battle been all the way through? First, we lost Damiano Pugetti. That was the first safety car period. A little bit of a nudge from Nicolas Melan. Pouget then getting squeezed, allowing Melan to get through into 2nd position behind Anthony Girardo. And another safety car was then triggered for Alejandro Arroyo. But for this man, Adrian Schimpf, it's all gone terribly, terribly wrong. Now, it doesn't look as though we've got too much information on what happened to Adrian Schimpf, but the recovery crew are already on the scene as the safety car picks them up for the first time. Now, based on the pace of that safety car and where the wreckage is, I wouldn't be too surprised if we are going to have safety car in this lap already, because all they need to do is move that car out of its current position to the marshal post, which is just off to the right there. So I think Adrian Schimpf should be okay in terms of that car being moved and the race can get going again. But unfortunately, we don't really have all of the facts as to what happened to Adrian Schimpf to get him out of the race. So very disappointing, very unfortunate. And that means, sadly, that Adrian Schimpf is out of the race. His twin brother, Alejandro, now has a chance to move forward, tucked up behind the pole sitter, Jerzy Spinkovic, who has dropped to 5th position. So where are we up to in the closing stages of this race? Well, Anthony Girardo leads from Nicolas Melan, David Pouget, Gabriele Torelli, Jerzy Spinkovic and Alejandro Schimpf. 7th is Jordi Palomeras in front of Guillaume Mayo, and then Jeremy Baudageret and Ivan Hernandez in the top 10. Behind them, it is Lionel Vigier and Stefan Polderman. 13th is Julien Bazirey. René Steenmetz in 14th in front of Quinto Stefana and Alejandro Romero. Then Lydia Sempere, she's in front of Joaquin Rodrigo and Gabriel Alonso, and then Jean-Louis Carposin and Michel Fay will complete the field. The retirements, Adrian Schimpf, which is the reason we're under our third safety car period, Alejandro Arroyo, and then Damiano Puccetti. Safety car in this lap. There we go. Told you once again that these guys really are very efficient at Circuit Ricardo Tormo. Some of the fastest marshals in the world. And we're only under safety car for 2 laps. And fabulous stuff from the team. They've managed to move Adrian Schimpf's car behind the marshal post already. So we will go racing for the 4th time. And we're not going to have long to do it either, because we have run down the timer. There's only just under 2 minutes plus the additional lap to go. So on the restart, we're only going to have a 2-lap sprint, I think. Yeah, we're only going to get 2 laps of racing in. So this is going to be pretty tight on the restart. Some of the back markers trying their best to catch up to the tail of the field. There is the Renault safety car. Coming straight back into the pits again, having only been out for 1 lap, technically speaking. So we had the safety car lap and then the lap where the safety car was actually bunching them up. But we are going to go racing. Here we go then. 2 laps to go. And it's green, 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 green. One last time. Gerardo hanging on in front of Milan, Puget, Torelli, Spinkovic, Alejandro Schimpf and Jeremy Bourdageret. There's a problem for Jordi Palomeras. Palomeras appears to be missing. Palomeras is coming to the pits, I do believe. So Jordi Palomeras is out of the race with 2 laps to go. Very disappointing indeed for Jordi Palomeras. So his race is over. Meanwhile, there is a terrific battle. David Puget trying to hold on to 3rd position in front of Gabi Torelli. Gerardo and Milan are still tuning away, the 2 of them together. Gabi Torelli trying to work his way through in 4th position. But David Puget, 3rd place. Torelli in 4th. Trying to get through on the inside. Spinkovic has Alejandro Schimpf for company. Then there's a big gap back, because unfortunately Jordi Palomeras has had some kind of mechanical problem and dropped out of the race. That has broken up the field a little bit as well, because now Jeremy Bourdageret finds himself in 7th in front of Guillaume Maillot, Ivan Hernandez and Lionel Vigier. That's your top 10. But the top 6 have yet again broken clear. And we are going to run out of time on this lap. So it's going to be whatever's left of this lap and then the one after it that will decide who's going to win. But it's one of 6 men. Gerardo, Milan, Puget, Torelli, Spinkovic and Alejandro Schimpf. It's going to be a very tough run to the flag. It will be very tricky to see who's going to get there. Jordi Palomeras has apparently crossed the timing line, so he might try and get out and finish the race. But he's already down at the very back of the grid. Very unfortunate for Jordi Palomeras. Points are prizes, however, so he'll want to finish the race. And there, as you can see on your timing screen at the top of the race monitor, the race time has run down to 0. So they will complete this lap by coming through Adrian Campos, the left-hander, go down the main straight, and then we are on the final lap. For Nicolas Milan, it's now or never. Can he take on Anthony Gerardo and go for the victory? Gerardo hops right over the rumble strip in the final turn. Last lap, here we go. Can anybody take on Anthony Gerardo, who is absolutely holding on, trying his best to hold on to it. Nicolas Milan getting a much better run off the final turn. Gerardo knows he's vulnerable into the first corner at a spot. He runs through the left-hander, making his way up the charge to do it. He drifts a little bit deep. Milan, Puget and Torelli are still all over him. Nicolas Milan might want to go for this on the inside of the hairpin. He's having to time it carefully. He doesn't want to just go gung-ho and hope. David Puget in 3rd, Torelli drifting a little bit wide in 4th. But all 4 drivers absolutely committed to this battle now. Jacek Spinkovic is there in 5th position, waiting for an opportunity. They work their way through. Out of Nico Terol, 4 and 5, and up towards Angel Nieto. And this is a great chance. Gerardo trying to be protective of his position from Nicolas Milan. Milan trying to skate his way through on the inside. Puget and Torelli still going strong. Out of Angel Nieto. Up to the Curva de la Fission. There's a car pulling off in front of them. I think that is Jordi Palomeras, hoping that his car is working, and it isn't. Jeremy Bourdageret is coming to the pits on this lap as well. So Bourdageret is out from 7th position. All sorts of mechanical issues. This is what I was telling you about the hotter air temperature causing problems for those with hotter engines. So there, unfortunately, is the retired Jordi Palomeras. Jeremy Bourdageret is pulled into the pits, but we have to watch this battle all the way to the death now. Gerardo, Milan, Puget, Torelli. It's going to be one of these 4 that takes the win. They come up out of Champicareros, up to the top of the climb, and then they will drop down towards Adrian Campos. One last chance. Milan is right there, in behind Anthony Gerardo. He may get his opportunity. David Puget needs to stay hungry just in case he gets the chance. Down towards Campos. In through the final turn. Girardo's got to nail it off the final corner, and he has nailed it. It looks like it's going to be stalemate. The checkered flag is in sight, and it's going to be Anthony Girardo that takes the victory in front of Nicolas Melan and David Pouget. A brilliant run for Anthony Girardo. We didn't quite get as many racing laps in as we should have done, but Anthony Girardo bounces back from the misery of yesterday to come through to take the victory today here at the circuit Ricardo Tormo. Great drive. Nicolas Melan has to settle for a pair of second places, and David Pouget will be very aggrieved with Anthony Girardo squeezing him, because that, of course, dropped him all the way to third in front of Gabriele Torelli. Torelli not quite getting the result he wanted the day after his wedding, and you've got to feel for the Polish driver Jerzy Spinkovic. He's going to be so disappointed with losing out after being in pole position initially and dropping all the way to fifth. Was sixth on the opening lap, but the driver of the day has got to be Alejandro Schimpf, who takes the Spanish Cup victory a day after his twin brother Adrian managed to do the same thing. And Alejandro Schimpf, getting into the walls yesterday, struggling in qualifying this morning, he was absolutely determined and resolute to work his way through, and he has come home in P6, which is good enough for the Spanish victory. What a terrific situation. And what a great drive from Alejandro Schimpf. He emulates his twin brother a day later as they both managed to take a victory. Excellent, excellent. Great racing from Alejandro Schimpf. 7th place going the way of Guillaume Maillot in front of Lionel Vigier, and the top 10 completed by new boy Ivan Hernandez and the Dutchman Stefan Polderman. René Steenmetz in 11th place in front of Julian Bazire and Quinto Stefana, then Alejandro Romero. Lydia Sempere coming through for 5th in class in the Spanish Cup and 15th overall. Not bad from her this weekend. Joaquin Rodrigo in front of Gabriel Alonso, and then Jean-Louis Caponsin in front of Michel Fay. A race full of retirements in the end. Jeremy Bodagere, Yuri Palomeras, Adrian Schimpf, Alejandro Arroyo and Damiano Puccetti all failing to finish the race. Jacopo Giuseppe Jimenez failing to take the start. But Anthony Girardo coming home in fantastic fashion. I've just noticed on Gabriele Torelli's windshield it says, just married. Great job yesterday, mate. Great job today as well. 4th position for Gabriele Torelli. And that is done and dusted here at the circuit Ricardo Tormo. Both of the Clio Cup races have been very thrilling for very different reasons. Yesterday we had the battle royale mano a mano between David Pouget and Nicolas Melan. This time we had 6 drivers up for the win. And Anthony Girardo coming through to get the job done in front of this man, Nicolas Melan, and David Pouget in 3rd. That is the 3 best French Clio Cup drivers in the top 3 positions here in Valencia. He'll have been a bit disappointed after yesterday, but he'll be very happy today, Anthony Girardo. Nicolas Melan, so close. Not quite the victory they wanted. But this man, very happy. Anthony Girardo getting the job done. David Pouget, I think there'll be frustration. A lot of frustration for the 3rd position there. I think he felt he had a car that could win this, and he'll want an explanation for why he was squeezed going into the final turn. So he'll be bitterly disappointed, I think, David Pouget. However, there's going to be some exciting races to come in the final 3 European races of the season, because it's not done and dusted yet, of course, here in the Clio Cup. There's still a little bit more action to come in this 2023 campaign. The French drivers are obviously going to be making their way next up to the Circuit Paul Ricard. The highlights from a brilliant second race at Circuit Ricardo Tormo. A good start initially from Messrs Jerzy Spinkovic and David Pouget, but there would be big problems in the end for Jerzy Spinkovic. He would fall away down to P6. He would only recover to P5 once Adrian Schimpf had his problem. 3 safety car periods triggered by Damiano Puccetti, Alejandro Arroyo and Adrian Schimpf. Close battles from Anthony Girardo, Nicolas Melan, David Pouget and Gabriele Torelli. They all tried their best to take it off Anthony Girardo. Technical problems for Palomeras on the final lap, but try as he might, Nicolas Melan just could not displace Anthony Girardo, who after difficulties yesterday was able to come through and take the win in fabulous fashion today. Girardo taking the win, a pair of second places for Nicolas Melan, brings him a little closer to David Pouget's score. Rather subdued top three down here in pit lane. There'll be a whole host of trophies to give out, of course, in the Clio Cup Europe, in the Clio Cup Series, and in the Clio Cup France and Spain. A lot of things will obviously take place down in the Clio Cup awning in pit lane. But David Pouget will have some interesting conversations, I'm sure, with Anthony Girardot after the race. What's your interpretation of what you did to me? What I did to you? How dare you? It's going to be an interesting battle between the two of them, off circuit now, I'm sure, as they converse rather candidly, I hope. But it'll certainly be an interesting and fascinating conclusion. So, some great performances then from our contenders in the Clio Cup. And they've had a fabulous performance and a great display. But obviously that now takes us to the next port of call. The next battle is going to come from the drivers once again when they head to the next round of Clio Cup Spain. That is taking place at Paul Ricard. That's also going to be the next round of Clio Cup Europe, but the Clio Cup Series, I should say. But Clio Cup Europe is going to continue next time out at Zandvoort in the Netherlands, and then followed by Imola and the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. Still a long way to go till the end of this season. And it's definitely going to be a really interesting situation for the contenders. And you've got to feel for Jezek Spinkovic after his maiden pole position at Hockenheim last time out in Germany last season, to get the pole this time out and not really convert it into anything. He'll be bitterly, bitterly disappointed with that. While the Spanish GT race is about to leave the pits and get underway for their second race encounter. So I don't know how long we'll be able to stick around, unfortunately, for the podium ceremony, but we will do our best to ensure that these drivers can be celebrated. But certainly for Anthony Girardot, it is a fabulous victory. And the contenders have done an excellent job of battling away. Anthony Girardot in front of Nicolas Milan and David Pouget. So the contenders will continue to put on a great display as they head to Zandvoort in the Netherlands. Paul Ricard, of course, is where they will go next for Clio Cup Series and Clio Cup Spain. Of course, Clio Cup France points will be on offer as well. So there we are. We are going to be able to do the Clio Cup podium just at the end of a fabulous race, and then we will wrap up proceedings and allow the GTCER, the Resistencia, to get out onto the circuit. That is, of course, the Spanish word for endurance. There is your man in third position. A rather frustrated David Pouget, no doubt, in third. In second position, Nicolas Milan will come forward for second place. Not a bad run. But it's Anthony Girardot that comes forward to take the victory up on the top step of the podium. A fabulous performance and a great display. And as we conclude proceedings here in the Clio Cup, we will obviously venture forward for the next round of the European Series, which will take place at Zandvoort in the Netherlands. But we're very aware of the fact that the GTCER is going to come out. The French national anthem on the podium. A great performance then from Anthony Girardot. It's an all-French podium with Anthony Girardot in front of Nicolas Milan and David Pouget. The season will continue when we head to Zandvoort in the Netherlands for the next round of the title fight. The Spanish and Series competitors will obviously head to Paul Ricard next. But there's still more to come. Keep an eye on things on the website. You'll stay up to date with all of the latest, but a great second race. The winners this weekend then, David Pouget and Anthony Girardot, as our attention turns to Zandvoort in the Netherlands. From myself, Jake Sanson, and everybody here, thank you very much indeed for watching Clio Cup Series here in Valencia. Adios, amigos.